Hi everyone, my name is Abdur and I'm making this video to share a personal story of mine about learning and studying English for the very first time. English is not my first language, it's also not my second language since I was born here in Jakarta, Indonesia. My first language is Indonesian. My second language is probably I would say the Batavian Malay language, the Bahasa Betawi. Since I spent my childhood here, I understand completely about the Batavian Malay language because I spent my childhood, my early education here in Jakarta, especially in the central part of Jakarta where there were so many Betawi people. But my families do not come from Jakarta. They did not come from Jakarta. They were not born and raised here in Jakarta. My mom's side actually comes from Palembang, the southern part of Sumatra. My father's side comes from Padang, or the western part of Sumatra. So I also understand, although not as completely as the Batavian language, I partially understand the language of Minangkabau and also the language of Palembang. Although since I did not spend my childhood there, I do not naturally speak the language. I probably don't have the local accent of both Minangkabau and Palembang languages, but I do understand, although partially, a couple or several phrases or accents in Palembang or in the Minangkabau language. Now, I would like to shift the focus of this video back to English, and the story to me was personal because learning English is a struggle, I would say. It was not easy, it was hard, it was difficult. And if I did not put as many attention as I did put back in the day, I probably wouldn't be able to make this video without script. And 25 years of life, and I spent a majority of those years learning English as the foreign language, which I studied and learned for so many times. I think English is special to me. Although I also learned other languages. I speak Nederland. Ik spreek een beetje Nederlands actually. And also Spanish, but I almost forgot how Spanish sounds. And I only learned it in the past 2 years. So it's not the same with English. English, I did not even remember the first time I learned about it. It was just there. I grew up with the internet when the internet first came to Indonesia, particularly when it first came to my family. I experienced the transition, the urgency of learning English. Everything was in English back in the day. You wanted to play games, you needed to learn English. You wanted to listen to music, you needed to learn English. And not just learning about English, you actually had to understand specific terms, for example, specific phrases and clauses. I'm a fan of professional wrestling since I was a kid. If any of you knew about that, or if any of you actually is a fan of professional wrestling, you do know that it's not a regular English that we casually hear from everyday television or from everyday internet. It's a special place. It's a special, I would say, special attraction because professional wrestling was not generally accessible for everyone in terms of their visibility, I would say. So you needed to have an internet connection for you to watch professional wrestling back in 2007, 2008. My first introduction to professional wrestling, it was not through the internet actually, it was through a PlayStation game. I believe it was a PlayStation 2. So it was not connected to the internet, so I was first introduced to I believe the 2004 SmackDown versus Raw PlayStation 2 game. And it was not a regular English back in the day. It was so complicated, so difficult, I would say. No subtitles whatsoever. So you needed to learn step by step about English used in professional wrestling. Apart from professional wrestling, I also watch other types of entertainment. Any types of entertainment, actually. Music, movies. I'm a big movie goer. And basically English in everyday settings. I went to after school lessons for English, and it was it was formal education, but although you did receive English as a subject in school, it was not enough because the English that was provided to so many of us back in the day was the regular formal English, not the type of English that you would encounter every single day on Facebook, on Twitter, on the internet, basically. So it was kind of different with the one that was taught to us back in the day by our teachers. Now, we did not learn English particularly because we wanted to. Most of us, including me, most of us learned English because there was a test of English, a national examination of English. When you transition from elementary school to junior high school, when you transition from junior high school to senior high school, even when you transition from a senior high school student to a college student. So there's always English as a test, as an official test. So you basically learn the formula, the grammar, all of that because you wanted to pass a test. It's different when you learn English because you want to, because you need to. You want to be entertained by this specific type of entertainment. For me, for example, professional wrestling, I needed to learn English in the context of professional wrestling. For those of you who watch football, who watch basketball, there are specific sports terms for that as well. For you, let's say, who watch movies regularly, you watch action movies, you watch histories, documentaries, there are specific areas of English that you need to be knowledgeable at. So it's not all about learning English based on the gerunds, the simple past tense, the perfect tense, the modals, and all of that. It's a mix of context and formula, context and the actual grammar of English. So when I was first introduced to English, of course, so many mistakes were made, as many first learners would do. But in the times of 2007, 8, it did not really matter because it was not that much of an expectation for you to learn English. For you to master English, it's another game. It was a game-changing life experience if you were able to speak English very fluently, if you were able to answer English tests and grammar and examination tests such as TOEFL or IELTS. If you were able to do all of that in such a very young age, it's going to be a game-changing experience for you. You will open doors of opportunities for you to go to top schools, for you to go to speak with someone who is a native speaker of English, and for you to understand better. If you only, in my case, if you only understand Indonesian, the formal Indonesian language, the doors of opportunities are going to be limited. If you understand English back in the day, it would open more new doors of opportunities. And I experienced it myself because when I first had my first TOEFL test, I remembered and I knew directly that if I focus on this, then it would change my life forever. And it did. Even though I did not come from a top senior high school, being, I will say this with kind of hesitation actually, being very good at English is going to help you, especially for an Indonesian, in those times. I am aware that today English is an everyday thing. You did not have to go to after school lesson and all of those activities for you to understand English. You could just open TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, or any other applications available right now. You learn English through your daily interactions online. And probably you don't understand the grammar and all of that, but you do know exactly how to use it. It's a different era, it's a different generation, I understand. But there are similarities still. You need not only to understand English, but you do need to know how to use it with natives, with Indonesians, with people of the same nationality of yours. So, for me, the existence of the internet changes everything, especially in early 2007-8. My first interaction, my first engagement with the internet, probably through Facebook, around the year of 2009. That was the first time we actually had internet connection, and by internet connection I mean the modem, the internet modem. My first time of having a Wi-Fi at home was in 2014. So we needed to wait 5 years for us to have a truly accessible internet connection. Now, back in the day, we did not use the internet to learn English in a practical sense. We actually used books. And I remembered I borrowed my uncle's TOEFL preparation book when I was still in junior high school. And that was the first time that I knew that English as a language was hard because there are so many rules and everything. And I needed to learn step by step from the very basics to intermediate to advanced. Even personally for me, I think the first time I can confidently say that I an advanced speaker of English, probably in college, or probably during my first year in my professional career. But the time where I was first introduced to English, I did not have that type of confidence because I was aware that I made mistakes when I used English. So in 2010, 2011, it was the era of memes, right? The first time I had interactions with my brothers and cousins. We played 9gag, if any of you knew. 9gag was this meme making application, right? It was the Instagram for memes, I think. And there was this one time where I wanted to make a meme with my cousins. And I typed the sentence right into the meme making application. But then I realized the sentence was not grammatically correct. It was not structurally fine. It did not satisfy me. But I did not know the answer. I did not know the solution for the sentence to be structurally correct. So I think 2011 onwards, those were the times I knew I was able to make a sentence in English, by also realizing that I made mistakes at the time. When we learned something, we only knew that we made a mistake if probably someone pointed out to it, or if our teachers told us about it, or we needed to verify later. But the ability to know that you make mistakes immediately after you finish making a sentence or a speech, script, or anything, I think that's the time when your language ability develops, right? So I took that momentum, I maximized all the opportunities happening onwards, and I learned not only for test examination purposes, but also for me to understand better. And my personal aim in learning English was for me to understand completely a television series or a movie or a video in English, anything, without having to look at the subtitles. I think those were the best indicators for me to be able to say confidently that I finally am able to speak and learn and study English in a stage better than I did previously. So this was the personal story for someone who spent the last 2 decades learning English. I would like to share more actually, more about the practical steps, the exact tools or facilities or books that I used back in the day. Although I understand that today is a completely different era, everything is different right now compared to 15, 20 years ago. So through this video, I would like to share this very important lesson that it takes years for you to understand a language. I have spent more than 1 year learning Dutch now, but without having an exposed interaction, having a deliberate practice in doing so, I would not be able to match the pace of me learning English compared to times where I changed my phone settings to English, I bought books about English, I interacted with people of native English speakers in my after school lessons. The amount of efforts that you need to put is the main factor of you to be able to learn English or any other language actually. So yeah, I understand it's a completely different generation, different era. And at the beginning of the video, I said that this was going to be a lesson sharing video, but actually it's my personal reflection of my personal journey, my personal adventure in learning English. And 2023 was the first time I took the Cambridge English test. I passed the C1 advanced, and when I thought that I have spent so many times speaking in English, learning English, studying English, I realized that the C2 examination is a completely different animal. And I just realized all the years, all the things that I've spent and I've done to learn English, there are still so many upper levels. There are still so many activities that I needed to do and understand to be at that C2 level, right? So yeah, I needed to know that, and I still need to know that. That's why I'm still learning, including through this video that I took for a one-time thing without editing whatsoever. So yeah, it's a personal reflection, and I hope I can make more videos about this later. Thank you, and subscribe, and you should wait for the next video, I think.